The night breathes with crackling flame. Sparks leap skyward, carried on the stink of pitch, mud and fat, and something you will one day recognize: burning hair. Shadows lurch and twist across the kirk's stone walls, shaped by the crowd that presses in, breath steaming in the cold air. Somewhere, a fiddler plays a reel just beyond the square. Your father's voice cuts sharp as a bodkin. Confess, and you'll die quickly. You are 8 years old. This is not a fireside tale. This is your bedtime story, performed beneath the moon, beside you. A woman screams into the rope that holds her to the stake. The crowd murmurs psalms through chattering teeth. Somewhere behind you, someone hawks meat pies to those who've come early for the spectacle. Welcome to Scotland, 1609. You are a witch hunter's daughter. You're born in a draughty, damp-walled cottage on the edge of Edinburgh in the easy years after the North Berwick witch trials, where storms were said to be raised against King James VI himself. Your toys are not carved dolls, but witch-pricking bodkins, long, sharp needles designed to pierce the skin in search of the devil's mark. Your father lets you hold them under the light, turning the steel until it catches the fire's glow. Your lullabies are psalms, sung in stern and wavering voices. Your bedtime stories are passages from Daemonology, of the King's own book on uncovering witches, with their lists of signs and proofs. At supper, your father quizzes you. What is the devil's teat? You recite, a blemish where no blood flows, where the familiar drinks. He nods approval, not telling you that your definition has already condemned a dozen women this winter alone. You learn to read by tracing the cramped ink on trial transcripts, memorizing blasphemies before you can fully spell your own name. Confession to you means story time, until you see your first prisoner, gagged with cloth, wrists raw from rope. Your father's first rule is spoken so often it becomes part of your bones: the devil hides in plain sight. You hear it at the market, when he pauses beside the fish stalls, his eyes cut toward a fishwife with a nervous twitch in her cheek. Possessed, he murmurs, as if pointing out the price of herring. A few steps later, you pass the midwife who delivered half the village. Your father tilts his chin toward the dark birthmark that stains her neck. That, he says, is the mark of her familiar. You do not ask what kind of animal leaves such a mark. You already know he'll say it was no animal at all. From then on, you are taught the 3 sacred tests, recited like scripture. The mark search: strip the accused to bare skin, probe for blemishes, scars, or the dreaded devil's teat. Your father explains in the same voice other fathers use to describe plowing a field. The mark, he says, is always numb to the touch. He does not mention that the numbness is often his invention, found with the help of a trick bodkin, a hollow needle that retracts smoothly, causing no pain but proving the spot is unnatural. The swim: bind the accused hand and foot, toss them into the river. Water, pure and blessed, will reject the guilty, forcing them to float. If they sink, well, they are innocent, but that truth arrives too late for breath. The watch: keep them upright, eyes open, for 3 nights and days. No food but a crust, no warmth but the candle's glare. By then, visions come: devils in the rafters, imps in the shadows. These hallucinations, born of exhaustion and thirst, are as good as any confession. You see all of it before you're 10. You see your father press the bodkin into an old widow's shoulder, watch the hollow shaft slip in without so much as a flinch. You see the way the crowd leans forward, murmuring, when she does not cry out. And natural, he declares. You ask later if that is fair. He smiles. Without warmth. Fair, he says, is for God to decide. He only record. You begin to carry that phrase in your head like a talisman, though you aren't sure whether it protects or corrupts. Your own humor turns dry, brittle. One afternoon, you tease a neighbor boy that he floats in water. Perhaps he's a witch. His eyes go wide, and he avoids you for a fortnight. A small part of you is proud. Another part, the quieter one, feels sick. Winter comes sharp that year, the kind that bites through wool and makes the breath in your chest feel like ice. One afternoon, news spreads: a woman from your own village is accused. You know her. She once found you huddled by the roadside on a freezing morning, your hands too numb to move, and pressed a warm oat cake into your palms. You'd eaten it too fast to thank her. Now she stands before the Kirk session, hair tangled from the cell, wrists bound with coarse rope. Your father questions her in the slow, measured cadence of the hunt, the same pattern you've heard dozens of times before. The questions are designed not to find truth, but to box it in until it has nowhere left to hide. She answers not with pleas or denial, but with psalm, pure and trembling. The sound fills the cold stone room, echoing against the rafters. It makes your chest ache. The minister frowns. To him, the hymn is no sign of piety, it is the devil's mimicry. A calculated trick to sway the godly. The crowd stirs, mutters. And soon their unease folds into agreement. In their eyes, the hymn is just another mask the devil wears. The verdict comes quickly, like always. No one is surprised. That night, you lie awake on your straw bed, the hymn threading through your thoughts, soft as snow. For the first time, you let the questions form where your father cannot hear them. If even a hymn can damn you, who is safe? And if guilt is whatever the powerful say it is, then who, exactly, is the devil? As you grow, you're no longer a child on the edge of the crowd. You're at the table, pen in hand, listening to trembling voices as you write down their confessions. You learn to spell maleficium before you spell mercy. The wax from the Kirk candles drips onto the pages as you tally evidence and draft death warrants in the neat, flowing script your father praises. One day, you realize your handwriting is on the orders that send women, and sometimes men, to the stake. The ink may dry, but you can still smell the burning. Then the whispers start. Not about the witches, but about you. Her eyes are too sharp. She reads too much. Your father's warning comes quietly but firmly. A witch hunter's daughter is never accused, unless she gives them reason. You adjust. You laugh loudly at church socials. You pray with conviction in the pews. You never linger too long with any one person. Kindness, here, is suspicious. In Scotland, 1609, guilt is not proven. It is assumed. And innocence is a fragile, vanishing thing. Then comes the new minister. Young, zealous. His sermons cut like flint as sparks of righteousness meant to set the whole parish ablaze. He watches your father work with a thin, tight-lipped suspicion. He asks too many questions about the efficiency of the convictions. As though catching witches is not an act of piety but a competition in which he intends to win. Old rumors resurface like corpses in the shallows. Your mother, dead of fever when you were small, is spoken of again. Not fever, the minister whispers to his confidants. Accused, when he asks your father outright, there's only silence. And in that silence is an answer. One cold night, the minister visits your home. The fire burns low, the shadows crawl long. He studies you in the way a cat studies a bird. Do you sleep well, girl? Yes, sir. Do you dream of fire? You lie. No, sir, but of course you do. Every night, you dream of fire, and faces melting into the smoke. Some are strangers, some you know, some look like your own. From hunter to hunted it happens quickly, the way an autumn frost kills the last green leaf overnight. A neighbor claims to have seen strange books in your home, cold trial notes, medical herbals, scraps of Latin prayers. By morning, the Kirk session is called. The benches groan under the weight of bodies and suspicion. You stand by as the minister declares your father has grown too confident, and that the devil hides not only in witches, but in false hunters as well. They seize him. They strip him. They prick him with needles until his skin blooms red. They bind his hands and throw him into the cold, black water. He floats. The crowd gasps. The water has rejected him. Guilty. You watch them lead him to the pyre you once stood beside him at, but this time, you are not allowed to speak to him. No final blessing. No last words. You wonder if, given the chance, he would tell you to stay and fight, or to run. You run anyway. The sound of the fire follows you long after the flames are gone. Before dawn, you work by candlelight, hands shaking as you feed your father's papers to the hearth. Trial notes, names of the accused, signed confessions, the evidence of a career built in ink and ash. The papyrus curls black, the parchment blisters, and the ink runs like blood in the flame. If they find them, they will find you. And if they find you, the next pyre will have your name nailed to it. You leave with nothing but a sack of oatcakes, a thin shawl, and the bodkin your father once carried, cold and heavy in your pocket. Your path takes you toward the coast, across moorland whipped by wind so sharp it tastes of iron. You live off the kindness of strangers who don't ask questions, and off your ability to give nothing away when they look too long at your face. In taverns, you hear your own story told by drunk tongues. The witch hunter's daughter became a witch herself. It's a better story than the truth, and in these times, stories are the most dangerous currency. They can buy you shelter, or they can buy your execution. Years pass. The world changes only a little. You live now in a fishing village under another name, the salt air bleaching your hair, the sea masking the smell of smoke you sometimes still dream about. You sell herbs for fevers, stitch fishing nets, help bring new lives into the world. You never speak of the lives you help take. Around your neck, on a cord worn smooth by time, hangs a small iron bodkin, the same kind your father used to test the accused for the devil's mark. To curious children, you tell a harmless lie. It keeps away nightmares, but you know the truth. The nightmare was real. You were born into it. And no one ever truly wakes up. Subscribe for more forgotten lives, dragged from the shadows of history and brought back to light.